In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing a very basic UI flash up when you press a button as the player. So this, for my example, I've just got a Halo Infinite control scheme, but this can be quite useful if you're doing a game jam or you're doing a showcase of a game where you just need the controls flashed up quickly. You don't want to bog the players down with loads of menus and everything. So this can be very useful if just for learning it, but also if you are showcasing the game in a very quick environment like a game jam or a game convention or something like that. So having something where you press a quick button and it shows the controls, pauses the game, and then when you press it again, it unpauses and you can play as usual. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing how to do a flash up of a UI with a control scheme as an example. So this isn't a control scheme I'm using, this is just from Halo Infinite. So first thing that we need to do, right click any empty space, at the very bottom, user interface, and then click widget blueprint. So once we've got this, we want to do user widget, and then name this whatever we want. So I'm going to call this UI underscore control, so it shows up the control scheme. So I'm going to call it that, and then then double click that, and then this should pop up, this window. So this is where we can design what the UI is going to look like. So first thing we need to do, drop down panel on the left, and then drag in canvas panel. So hold left click and just drag it in. You should see something like this now. So this will emulate what the screen looks like. So you can see it's currently previewing at 1280 by 720. This is just a preview. It will scale to whatever the resolution of the monitor is. So just as a preview, this is fine. And then what we do is drag in an image. So this will automatically become a child of the canvas panel. And then this will show up as an image. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to quickly change what this image is to that control scheme. So you can do this and just drag it in, and that's fine, and you can scale that up. But if you've already got an image in and you wanted to change it, this is how you do it. So select the image that you just dragged in, and then on the right you can see brush here. So click that, and then do the drop down on image. So drop down there, and then if you know what your file's called, you can search it if you've got a lot of images, but in here there's not that many images. So it's at the very top, example image, and I can change that now. So once we've got this, we can add that in. So we're going to just set this up very basically. So just have that. It's probably best to set the anchor to the center, just so when we start to scale it down, it scales it from the center. And then with that, we just need to do one more thing. So we've got everything for the UI set up visually. So what we need to do, click UI control. So that's the name of the blueprint that I made. So UI control. Click the very top of it. So not the canvas panel or the image, but the very top. So the very top of the hierarchy. Click that, select that, and then because what we want is for it not to be visible when we play. So we only want it visible when we press a button. So visibility, so click the very top of the hierarchy, visibility, change this non-hit testable to hidden. So this will be, when it's in the game, it's not visible straight away. We're going to do code to make it visible, and then code to make it invisible again. So this is everything done for the UI now. So we can close that down, and then what we need to do, we need to put some code into the player. So currently in this project, I've got the third person character. So I'm going to find the third person character blueprint. So if I open this up, so the one that has all the controls. So find what your player character is. And then we're going to start adding some code in. So first off, we need to do begin play. So we're going to initialize all of the UI. So if we do a begin play, so the very first frame of play, initialize everything. So run through this. So then what we need to do create widget. So this will then create the UI, but it won't actually put it into the world yet. So on the select class, so construct none, it should say when you do create widget. So class, drop down class, and select the name of the UI that you made. And then drag back off of owning player, so hold left click on the owning player blue node, and then search get player controller. So this will then apply that widget to the controlling player. So then what we need to do, we want to be able to get a reference to this another bit of code. So what we need to do, we need to promote this to variable. So if we promote that to variable, then I'm going to call that UI control ref, so UI control reference. And then drag off of the set, because this is now a reference to this UI, so we can use this as a reference. And then we're going to add to viewport. So this will then make it so it's applied to the world. If you did this, it would initialize and some stuff would work, but it wouldn't actually be visible in the world. So add to viewport. Then, so this is all initialized now. So then we want to have a button, so when we press it, it makes the UI visible, and then when we press it again, it makes it invisible. So what we need to do, right click an empty space, search keyboard, and then whatever key you're wanting to do. So usually I use the key P. So when you're testing things and you're using it in editor, usually the button to bring up a menu would be escape, but that will then, if I show you, if I play and press escape, it just stops play, so it won't work how we need it. So I usually do P when I'm testing stuff out, like menus and stuff like that. So when you press P, so I'm going to do a flip-flop first. So flip-flop, and then drag in a reference. So we've made the reference here, and now it's in the left as a reference. So if I drag that in and do a get, then we've got a reference to this, and we want to set the visibility. And then we want to set visibility again, so the exact same node, but link A and B together. Okay? And then, so what we want, so it's currently hidden, so the visibility is hidden by default. So when we press P for the first time, go through A and set it visible. Then when we press it again, and then it goes through B, we want it as hidden. So then, every time I press P, it toggles on and off. So if you're wanting it where you have to hold P to show the key, show the control scheme, and then it flashes off once you let go of P, all you need to do is do pressed and released. So that might be something. I prefer it when it's a toggle on and off, but I've got it where when you hold P, it shows up. When you let go of P, it disappears. But I'm going to put that flip-flop back. And that's a very basic way to show how the controls work. So the game's still playable. If you're wanting it where the game pauses, so if you're wanting to quickly check the controls, but there might be enemies coming towards you and you don't want to risk getting killed while looking at the controls, we can set it so the game gets paused. So if we just search paused, yeah, so set game paused. So when you search paused, it's the one that gets highlighted. So then we want to set it to paused, and then we want to set it as unpaused when we want it to disappear. Now, the thing is, when you pause a game, input stops working. So what we need to do, select the key that we just put in, and we want to do execute when paused. So if we select that, it'll come up with all this stuff. Do execute when paused. That will allow us to then still press P, even if the game's paused. So if I minimize this now, if I jump, I can see that I'm still floating in the air, and then I'll press it again. So I'll jump. So that might be useful if you've got a very action-heavy game and you're wanting to have it showcase as that. Okay, so that's a very basic way to show a bit of UI in your game.